I told my parents I was moving out when they asked me to pay for my sister's vacation. My younger sister Chloe has always lived in a different reality than the rest of us. My parents treat her like a fragile glass doll that will shatter if she ever has to face a consequence. I am 24 and have worked as a junior accountant since the week I graduated college. For the last 2 years, I have lived at home and paid my parents $800 a month. I wanted to help with the mortgage and the groceries because I felt it was the adult thing to do. Chloe is 21 and has never had a job that lasted longer than a week. She dropped out of 3 different community colleges because she said the fluorescent lights gave her anxiety. She spends her days sleeping until noon and her nights out with friends while my parents pay her car insurance and her phone bill. They even give her a weekly allowance for clothes. Whenever I brought up how unfair it was, my mom would just sigh and say that Chloe is a late bloomer and needs extra support. 3 weeks ago, the situation hit a breaking point. Chloe decided she was burnt out from doing nothing and told my parents she needed a month-long trip to Europe to find herself. Instead of telling her to get a job, my parents started looking at flight prices. They sat me down in the kitchen like it was a board meeting. My dad told me that because of inflation and the rising cost of utilities, they were going to need me to increase my rent to $1,200 a month. I did the math in my head immediately. That extra $400 was exactly what Chloe needed for her host and URAL passes. I asked them flat out if this was about the house or about her vacation. My mom got very defensive and said that as a family, we all have to chip in to make sure everyone is happy and healthy. She actually had the nerve to tell me that since I have a career, I should be honored to help my sister have a once-in-a-lifetime experience. I told them no. I told them that I was already paying more than a fair share for a single bedroom in a house where I do all my own laundry and buy my own specialty groceries. My dad got red in the face and said that as long as I lived under his roof, I would follow his rules. He told me that if I didn't have the new amount ready by the first of the month, I was being ungrateful and selfish. I didn't argue. I just went upstairs and started looking at Zillow. I found a small studio apartment about 20 minutes away. It was older and the kitchen was tiny, but it was mine. The rent was exactly $1,100. I signed the lease that Friday during my lunch break. I spent the next week moving my life out in trash bags while they were at work. I took my electronics and my good suits to a storage unit first. I didn't want them to see the progress. By the time the 31st rolled around, my room was completely empty except for the mattress and a lamp. On the morning of the 1st, my mom came into my room with her hand out. She was already talking about how Chloe had picked out her luggage. I just handed her my house key instead of an envelope. I told her that since the price of the room went up, I decided to go with a better landlord. I told her I was officially moved out and that she could use the empty space to store all the souvenirs Chloe wouldn't be able to afford now. The fallout was instant. My mom started sobbing, saying I was abandoning the family. My dad called me a dozen times telling me I was a traitor for leaving them in a financial hole. Apparently, they had already put the plane tickets on a credit card, assuming my extra rent money would cover the monthly payments. Without my $800 a month, they couldn't even cover their basic mortgage and Chloe's car payment at the same time. Last night, Chloe called me screaming. She said I was ruining her life and that she had to cancel her trip because our parents were forcing her to apply for a job at a local grocery store. She told me I was the reason she was depressed. I told her that welcome to the real world where things cost money and people don't just hand you Europe on a silver platter. My parents sent me a long email this morning. They didn't apologize. They just asked if I would consider moving back for $600 a month just to help them stabilize. I didn't even reply. I sat on my new balcony with a cup of coffee and enjoyed the silence. I am finally living in a house where nobody is trying to reach into my pockets to fund someone else's laziness. It is the best $1,200 I have ever spent.